People are incredibly diverse. It's one of the greatest things about us. As much as cat or dog owners might like to say they could pick their pet out of a lineup, purebred animals all kind of look alike. One golden retriever to another might as well be a clone. But people? Every single person, minus identical twins, have unique faces. Bodies, you may not be able to pick somebody out based on their body, but the face is where the magic is. We really are all special snowflakes. The distinctness of humans is a physical trait, brought on by what? Biology and psychology at times must merge, and I believe this is one such case. With biology, we draw distinctions of species based on physical differences and their ability to breed. Psychology as a field is more separated. Every animal has a psychology, of course, but we tend to just base an animal's thought process off of the behaviors and actions they take. We can't exactly ask them what they're thinking, so it's the best we can do. I swear I'll get to chimps and bonobos soon, bear with me. So millions of years of Homo evolution, thousands upon thousands of generations of human ancestors long since abandoned the trees of other apes, started developing better memory, bigger frontal cortexes, and thusly a more sophisticated way of socializing. Our psychology adapted to our new savanna environment. We shed our fur and started developing relationships that were highly specific to each individual. In turn, we became more individualistic. It's a chicken and egg scenario as far as I'm concerned. What came first, individual faces or our ability to be individuals? I personally lean more on the fence of the ability to be individuals coming first based off of how unique chimps and bonobo relationships are. But that said, they also have pretty distinct faces too. Not as much as humans, but more so than cats and dogs. Give them a few thousand more generations and we might see that gap close. So, with all this said, we humans behave in a very complex way. Our brains are complicated, and that allows us to develop personalities ourselves, unlike the prototypical behaviors we see in less sophisticated animals. The way they behave is entirely predictable based on instincts. We can develop a personality while it is molded by our social environment, and that can lead to very distinct types of behaviors or attitudes based on whichever neighborhood we grew up in, which is to say, it's learned behaviors. Culture, in less words. For example, throughout history, Tibet and China have had a tumultuous relationship based on their differing cultures. China, with its long history of centralized power and territorial expansion, has often sought to assert control over the Tibet region. This has led to numerous conflicts driven by China's desire to unify and maintain order through force. In contrast, Tibet has always been a more peaceful and spiritual culture. Rooted in Buddhism, Tibet society has valued nonviolence, harmony, and community well-being over power struggles. It doesn't mean they've never been violent, as they have fought with their neighboring country Bhutan, but that's nothing compared to China. The focus on spiritual growth and cultural preservation has created a distinct approach to social organization, where maintaining peace and cooperation are priority one. Chimpanzees, much like China, are often characterized by their competitiveness and hierarchical social structures. They engage in frequent displays of strength and violent encounters to establish dominance and control within their group. On the other hand, bonobos resemble Tibet in their social behavior. Known for their cooperative structures, bonobos resolve conflicts through social bonding and sexual behaviors rather than aggression. This peaceful and nurturing approach to social interactions is reminiscent of Tibet's emphasis on harmony and nonviolence, where community well-being is paramount. Life is complex. Apes are complex. I don't know about you guys, but at least for me, playing parallels with behaviors between different species and human culture can help show the diverse approaches to social organization and conflict resolution that can exist in a community. I'm not the biggest advocate for violence, so I do teeter to one side more than the other, but you cannot have one side of a coin without the other. With that said, let's now dive in to some of the bigger differences between chimps and bonobos. From PBS Library, quote, "Male dominance plays a big role in chimp society. Disputes are often resolved by threatening displays or by fighting. Female chimps lead a life much more solitary than that of their bonobo cousins, and are sometimes harassed by the much larger males. Sex is strictly about reproduction, and reproductive tactics can include infanticide, the killing of offspring unrelated to a male chimp. Infanticidal individuals remove potential competitors of their own offspring, and the mother, without an infant to care for, will become an available mate again much sooner." In contrast, bonobo society is marked by the strong bonds that develop between unrelated females and by almost constant sexual activity amongst all members of a group. Bonobos apparently use sex to reinforce bonds within the group and to resolve conflict, meaning that infanticide is almost unknown among bonobos. Their constant sexual activity obscures paternity, removing the incentive for infanticide, and the pervasive bonding of female bonobos who form coalitions for mutual support and protection removes the opportunity. Preventing infanticide is a huge evolutionary advantage for bonobo females, because more of their offsprings will survive." Unquote. So now the question lies, how did this happen? As far as how did their ancestors diverge and create two species, geology is the culprit. The Zaire River, or Congo River, broke up Pan tribes, and natural selection mutated the two tribes over generations. Bonobos evolved on the south side of the river, and chimps continue to evolve on the north side. While the environment on both sides of the river have remained essentially unchanged over 2.5 million years, there was a time when the south side experienced a great drought. The drought caused the gorillas in the area to evacuate looking for more vegetation, leaving bonobos as the only species of apes left in that area. The drought went away, but the gorillas did not come back. When they left, they found a solid food source and stayed put. That may be the single biggest driver in bonobo social evolution. Bonobos did not have to compete for resources the way chimps did, and still do. They could exploit the bounty of fiber foods that gorilla usually ate, and this extra food would tide them over between fruit scavenging. Because of this, bonobos traveled in larger, more stable groups and formed stronger bonds. Chimps, on the other hand, had to compete for fiber foods, fruits, and meat. The resources were scattered, and so were the individual chimps. Female chimps in particular had to disperse, which meant they couldn't form strong bonds, which means they wouldn't stand up against male violence when it wasn't happening to them. Having to compete builds internal stressors that bleed into every aspect of daily life. I can attest to that. After I moved to Toronto, I found that every day when I left my driveway, I would have to fight for my life to get to where I was going. Being forced to compete makes you more aggressive. It winds you up. But I can say that I am lucky in being generally easygoing and peaceful, so the traffic aggression doesn't bleed into my domestic life. But that said, I'm sure if I were in a more hostile environment, I would adapt in aggression to survive, and thus suffer in other aspects, like my domestic life, as a result. So ultimately, this is a story of why chimps and bonobos are different. Their environments offered a radical difference in resource abundance, and thus social bonding chances altered, and that led to different stress levels, leading to a different social dynamic between males and females and their babies. Neither of these species is right or wrong for the way they behave. They are a result of their environment. This is the great truth of nature. No church in the wild, no honor among thieves. When the chips are down, people will do whatever it takes to survive. Morality is subjective. I personally believe bonobos are living generally better lives, but that opinion is coming from my subjective experience in the world. I've experienced violence. I've felt the heat of competition, but came out of these past experiences as a person who is non-competitive and will resolve conflicts non-violently every time. Not everyone is that way or shares that opinion, but there you go. That's my 2 cents. And that's the video. As always, thank you guys so much for checking this one out. If you're interested in chimps, bonobos, or just primates in general, make sure to like and subscribe for more vids from me, your boy, Joe Van. Sleep well, fellow primates, and until next time, ciao for now. Peace.